All right, it's pretty windy in here, so there may be some background noise. I hope you guys don't mind. If you missed it, I just did the final quarter moon reading, so check it out. It will be on the YouTube channel tonight, and it's on the wall currently. This video is about activating the inner Elohim, or the reflection of God within, but in a very particular way. The Elohim are the multiple within the one. It's the mother and the father as the one God. And so this video is about how we activate the inner mother and father. What does that even mean? How do we do that? When we do this, we can think about the mother and father in our lives, or what mothers and fathers are in general. What role is the mother supposed to play? What does that mean to you? And what does it mean to you when you consider what role the father is supposed to play? When you think of divine feminine and divine masculine, what comes to mind? Those are the archetypal qualities that we want to activate inside of ourselves. And ultimately, when we activate the mother and the father together in harmony, this marriage, this alchemical marriage, becomes a romance where their shared perspectives and their shared decisions become the decisions which determine your thoughts and actions. So it's like having this inner mother and father where we go to for advice. We go within and we ask our father, what would you want for me in this situation? And we ask the mother, what would you want for me in this situation? And then that mother and father within have a conversation. They have a dialogue and they talk and they compromise and they come to a decision for the child, which is you. We can also look at this as the two pillars and the middle path, the black and white and the gray in the center. We can look at it as the pillars of mercy and severity, and again, walking the middle path between those two. Ultimately, the parents should want what's best for the one, the child. So when we are honest with ourselves in the development of this inner mother and father, their dialogue, becomes an unfolding process of getting in touch with our intuition. Their ability to compromise will determine how useful or how efficient their shared decision will be as our intuitive guidance system. So if you ultimately are stronger with the connection to your inner mother, or stronger with the connection to your inner father, there's going to be an imbalance with those pillars of mercy and severity. And that's going to reflect in their ability to compromise inside of yourself, to be able to come to a balanced decision, with whatever the question is, whether you're considering what you should think, what you should say, what you should do. Whenever we have a question as far as what to say, think, or do, we consult those two. And hopefully, we allow each of them enough room to have their say, to share, and then to come to a refined, balanced perspective as it is in reflection for the highest good of the one, which is the child, which is you in that case. So what happens first is we need to get in touch with this process, even knowing what it is, because a lot of people don't even know about this process. They don't even know that this process is available to us. A lot of people don't necessarily believe in it because they think it's all fantasy. But ultimately, everything is the mind. The first principle of Hermetics, the principle of mentality, it all begins here. It's all about perspective. And this is very effective, whether you believe it's real or not. So first of all, it's about understanding that this process is available to us. Second of all, it's about believing in its power, because if you don't believe, you won't receive. So you can just stop right there. But it's quite simple. It's just understanding that we have to clearly define what a mother is in our mind's eye and what a father is in our mind's eye. We need to define those, activate them within in our own unique way. What does my inner mother look like? What does my inner father look like? Once we do this and we define them in their wholeness and in their holiness, in their divinity, as far as divine masculine and divine feminine, then they are ready to marry, right? Just like twin flames, and just like we hear about divine romance and relationship, until we are whole, we may struggle to create a harmonious balance, right? So we do our best to define those two, and then we initiate the alchemical marriage within. And we marry those two together. And then what happens is they're always there living inside of us as a unit. And whenever we have a question as far as what we should be thinking or doing or saying, we consult with them. And it's like we close our eyes and we go within and we give the mic to the mother, or we give the mic to the father, and we give them each enough time. And we watch their dialogue unfold. We equally consider their perspectives. And then hopefully, we come to a balanced decision, a compromise. And that decision becomes the intuitive message which we extract and use to guide us. But again, if we give the mother too much consideration or the father too much consideration, if one of those sides is not willing to compromise, then our decision will reflect the inability to maintain that balance. The decision will be one that is not in full balance. It won't be the best advice we could possibly take. And maybe we won't be doing what's good for the highest good of the one. So it's quite a simple concept. And when you understand the reality of the way the mind works, the nature of the mind, this is very real work that we can do. This becomes a very simple yet very profound tool that we can utilize again and again in any moment. And the thing is, it's always work. It's always work, but it should be joyful as long as we stay trusting and stay faithful in this process. A marriage is always work, right? That marriage inside of you as well. It's just like any other marriage. It takes effort. It takes two to tango. It's not just like you produce this alchemical marriage within. You initiate this marriage and you activate your guidance system and now you're all powerful. No, it's up to you as the child to maintain that connection between the mother and the father within you. It takes constant effort. We have to make sure that we're nurturing the inner mother and the inner father always, that we're always refining them and developing them as we develop ourselves, because we're constantly evolving and changing and growing. And as we do, so do those two inside. And so it takes effort and it takes dialogue of those two. And it's really just a reflection of these pillars, mercy and severity, that are within all of us. We all have these masculine and feminine energies within us. And when we use this, ritual, this metaphor of the mother and the father to access that balance and to refine that balance, it makes things a lot easier for us. It gives us these reference points that are very understandable and very easy to work with as far as our human perspective. Because we're doing this whether we want to or not. And this allows us a platform to do it with more awareness, with tools that give us, the proper way to work with this stuff. Otherwise, it just gets really messy and confusing. So if we wish to maintain a balance between mercy and severity, between our masculine and feminine energies, this is one way to do it. We can activate the mother and father within, define them, marry them, and remember them as always being in there. And remember that as they have their dialogue and they come to that compromise then becomes the decision that we make and the action that we take, hopefully in reflection of the highest good of the one, of the child, of the two, which are also one. You see, it ties everything all in together. So our ability to have that inner mother and father compromise to make those decisions will reflect just how balanced of a path we will walk. But not just in one moment. Each moment can be different. We need to maintain a healthy relationship, a synergistic relationship between that inner mother and father, if we wish to truly come to the proper compromise each time anything is in question. It's always effort. It doesn't just stop. The inner marriage is like any other marriage. So again, if you want to walk the middle path, if you want to walk the path of balance, then each time that we have a question as far as which way to go in life in any dimension, whether mentally, emotionally, physically, when we have a question, we need guidance, need to know which way to go, ask your parents inside of you, ask Elohim, ask God, ask the one as the two, the mother and father, in unison, in harmony, in a happy marriage inside of yourself. And if you're finding that you're too much on the mother side or the father side, too much masculine energy or feminine energy, too passive or too aggressive, it's showing you where you need work. It's showing you where you need to lean a little bit more to this side or that to maintain that balance. So if we want to walk that middle path, we must understand that the decisions that need to be made to maintain that balance and walking that middle path will be dependent upon our ability to maintain a loving, healthy, committed relationship between the mother and the father and their marriage within our own hearts. This is the only way. And so for those of you who have all these ideas about marriage, you have all these perspectives on marriage, oh, I'll never get married, or I got married once, or I'm married right now. I'm not talking about just the marriage in the outside world. I'm talking about the marriage inside. And perhaps that could even shift your perspective on marriage in the physical realm. But what I'm talking about is the holiest marriage, the divine union, God as the two within the one, Elohim, the great mother and the great father, God and his feminine counterpart, the Shekinah. I'm talking about this marriage, and it's inside all of us because we are all masculine and feminine beings. Your body's one or the other, sure, but we all have masculine and feminine parts to our being. Every little particle that makes us up has an upper and a lower half, a masculine and feminine half, a positive and negative force that come together. We all have this. So whether you want to initiate this marriage or not, each moment these polarities are playing within us and then reflecting all around us. So how are you going to remain aware of that dance that the inner polarities are doing? How are you going to remain aware? Because if you're not aware, then ultimately you're a victim to your reality. Ultimately, you're not as empowered as you can really be. Ultimately, you're giving up your power because you're not going to be understanding of all of the reflections around you as a manifestation of what's happening inside of you if you don't acknowledge that there are two forces at play inside. Only when we acknowledge them and start to really work with both of them and bring them together to work synergistically in harmony, not just for this one, but for the one. Only then will we really start to understand what is manifesting all around us and just how much of a part we play in all of it. You're the center of your reality. The center of your reality. So how can we look at those forces within us, which we all have, positive and negative, and I'm not talking about good and bad, I'm talking about positive and negative in scientific terms, masculine and feminine energies within all of us. How can we in this moment right now take accountability and acknowledge these forces and work with them, loving each of them and defining each of them so that we can work on bringing them together and marrying them inside of us so that they can work for and with each other in harmony for the highest good of the one, which is the child, which is you, which is me. If anyone's interested in doing this kind of work, doing the alchemical marriage, initiating this process where you define your own inner mother and father, if you're curious about how to do that, what that looks like, what you have to do to get to that point of marrying these two that are inside of you into the one, I do this work specifically with tarot. I also use Native American symbols for this work, and I use the symbols together, the Native American symbols with tarot, and sometimes I even call in other symbols. Ultimately, what we do is we use natural law of attraction, to pull out symbols that are reflecting your own truth inside of you, okay? So we pull out these symbols and they help us to define your inner mother and your inner father. They help us to define your inner masculine and your inner feminine in their highest light. And these symbols will reveal all the lessons that come with each of those things. And then we can really get to work. So it helps to pave the way. It helps to get us started. If you're interested in this kind of work, let me know that you're interested in initiating the divine romance, the alchemical marriage inside of yourself. Why would somebody want to do this? Because again, only when we do this do we begin to experience a reality, a manifestation in reflection of a true harmonious world inside. Then everything becomes a reflection of this guidance system. Angels are all around us, and often this is revealed through people that we already know, people that were right under our nose. But all of a sudden, the entire universe just supports you. It's like the mother and father are in all things, and you begin to see that. You begin to see how the whole universe is here to support you. It becomes very clear. And also, it comes from inside of you, the deepest place inside of you, that space in your heart. And so this is the truest, most authentic way to manifest this reality and reflection of the inner harmony. Because only when we do it from the heart, when we do that work from the inside out, will we manifest that reality in a way that's sustainable. This is the truth regardless. The angels are all around us, and everything around us does want to support us. The universe is an intelligent one, and it wants to sustain itself. It wants to support itself. But sometimes we feel a little doubtful. We surrender it into this chaos, thinking, oh, there's no way. There's no reason for me to even try. I give up. And we feel a little helpless. But in order to establish that stable and sustainable connection to the heart, this is the way we can do it. So if you're interested, let me know that you would like to initiate the alchemical marriage. I would be so happy to work with you. It would be my pleasure. I hope that this video inspired you to, if anything, just get started on your own and just start defining what the masculine and feminine looks like to you, what the divine feminine and divine masculine are. What would the mother want for the child? And the mother, there are so many, ways to look at this. We could look at the mother as the cosmic womb, where she is one with he, as Elohim or God, in that place beyond space and time. The womb where they are one, and the baby as well is there too. It's the three as the one. We can look at this version of the mother. We can look at Mother Earth. That's a great reference point because it's so relative. Obviously, we're walking on her right now. We're living in her right now. And so if we look at the earth, it's like, what would the earth want for us? What would the earth mother want for us? All those things that come to mind as an answer to that question will be things that you want to write down, or things that you want to meditate on, and things that you want to integrate into your own inner mother. Because that is a great way to, when you're needing advice, to look within and ask, like, hey, Mother Earth, what would you want for me? Right? So that's one example of how you can integrate your definition of the divine feminine. Then as far as the divine masculine, I'll give you an example. What would the father want for us? Well, what would your father want for you, your earthly father? Oh, well, I never had a father, or he left us a long time ago, or my dad died, or it doesn't matter. If you had a father, and in your eyes he was being the best father he could be, what would that look like? I'm not asking what does it look like right now in your reality. That doesn't matter. None of this is real. We're all working towards something different here anyway. This will all be gone. This is all impermanent. But in your mind's eye, what would a father really want for his son or for his daughter? And what's more is, what would the heavenly father want for his child? These are all ways that we can define the inner mother and father, in ways that we program ourselves to have this guidance system that truly works for our highest good, in reflection of what the mother would want for us and the father would want for us, in compromise. Like, okay, there's a mother and a father and a child, and the boy gets hurt and he comes running over to the parents, and the mother, right, one of the pillars, and the father as the other pillar, they have two different reactions. The mother might say, oh, let me, heal it for you. And the father might say, oh, well, don't just be so quick to heal him, and implying there's a problem. Let him heal himself. And so they have this dialogue, right? But when we recognize that they are two parts of the same one, we can make that dialogue more soft and more loving and more harmonious, to where their combined perspective becomes the answer that is best for the child. Okay, don't make a big deal that the child fell, because of course you're just going to be feeding the wrong energy. But do be there and be present for the child and offer that nurturing presence. And also teach your child, give your child some wisdom so that they can keep that within themselves and know how to take care of themselves in the future when this happens again. So it's about the mother and the father and their decisions together, which come up with the answers that we're looking for. The answers that are going to be the ones for the highest good of the one. Okay, so that's all that I have on the alchemical marriage. If you are interested in walking that middle path, this is a great way to do it. Let me know if you're interested, and I'm happy to go further down that rabbit hole with you. And also, for those of you who just tuned in, if you didn't check it out, I did the final quarter moon reading and activation for the collective consciousness right before this video. So it is on my wall, and it will be up on YouTube tonight. Please check out youtube.com/RebeccaMagic. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you want more videos like this. I love you guys. It is time to level up. Peace.